Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the show, Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Got a great show for you on this Monday evening. Let me just start out by saying that daylight savings time is some bullshit. Okay? Like, damn. So, what do I mean by that, of course? Daylight savings time. So, on Sunday here, we had to put our clocks back, forward an hour. So, I'm like, so it's like about 1 in the morning. Or 1:59. And then it flips over, and then it's 3 o'clock. It's like, well, that's pretty stupid. Time didn't actually change. It is just our perception of time. So, it's sort of ridiculous because, again, it's outmoded. It's outdated, and basically was made so that farmers could be in the fields a little longer. It's basically something that's completely not necessary anymore in the modernized world, but yet we still have it, and so it's crazy. Anyway, so now, like I said, we've got a lot of great stories here. Donald Trump goes back and talks about the Tim Apple thing. He couldn't let it stand. He couldn't sit there and not lie about it. Then we also have the Trump budget. That is disastrous. We also have Fox News' Jeanine Pirro getting a little bit of pushback on her attacks on Ilhan Omar. Then we have Tucker Carlson. Some interesting statements from a while ago. We're going to talk about that. And is it fair to criticize someone for things that they said years ago? Interesting. Then we have conservatives launching a safe space app. I'm not kidding. Safe space. And so, like I said, we got a lot of fun here. But another interesting piece of information here before I go to the shout-outs and stuff like that. So we found out that the DNC convention is being held in Milwaukee. Milwaukee is about 5 hours from me. So I'm not saying anything, but maybe I'm saying they should expect me. Again, not set in stone, right? But it's a 5-hour drive. I'm not saying it's impossible. We'll have to see. Maybe see me at the DNC convention in July 2020. Interesting. Especially considering who might win. Oh, that'd be interesting. Maybe do some interviews, do some shows there, see what happens. Oh, fun. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, just keep an eye out. It's a long time till the DNC convention, of course. It's, again, July 13th through the 16th in 2020. But, oh, man, fun. All right. Anyway, so that said, let's get to some shout-outs here. Thanks some members. Thanks some patrons. First, we'll go to Patreon and thank Jane Ferry. Jane Taguchi, it's a new member. Janet Allen. Jared Niemeyer, Jasmine Mann, Jason Lee, J-Stage, JCD, Jeff Curry, and Jeffrey Johnson. Thank you to all those people who support independent progressive media. You can do so through a couple of different ways. Patreon, of course, patreon.com/TYTNation. You sign up to be a patron, $3 and above. You get the entire show ad-free. Kind of cool. And also, we are waiting to get a podcast version up. As well. I'm interested in doing that, although those come with some costs, of course, but we're trying to get on iTunes. So who knows? We might have our podcast version on iTunes, and of course we'll have links to that for all our patrons as well. So interesting. Audio version, podcast on iTunes, super cool. So we're going places. Okay. Anyway, channel members, of course. William Lamb is the last one to sign up. We've got 34 members, so that's cool. I believe that channel members also get it ad-free if I might be mistaken or might not be mistaken. I do know that people who use YouTube Premium, of course, get it free, but I'm not quite sure about the members. So if, you guys let me know if that's something that I can work on, helping you get this stuff. Okay. Now, let's move on. Let's head into fun stuff, including Trump bail. So President Trump has been caught in another very, very strange, really unnecessary lie. I know there's just so many around him, but this is, I think, just one of the newest ones. So Trump has done, I think, 2 reversals since the Tim Apple thing. Now, on Friday, Trump told a group of GOP donors at his golf resort that he had said Tim Cook Apple, right? But the cook was silent or really, really fast. And so he claimed that fake news reported it as Tim Apple. But it wasn't Tim Apple. It was Tim Cook Apple. Really? Was it? I showed you guys a video of this already. But, of course, in case you forgot, here it is. Here's the video.
People like Tim, you're expanding all over and doing things that I really wanted you to do right from the beginning. I used to say, Tim, you got to start doing it over here, and you really have. I mean, you've really put a big investment in our country. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple. But we're opening it up. We have to bring people in. We want them to be people based on merit.
All right, so you heard that. Tim Apple. Thank you, Tim Apple. Okay, well, fascinating. I don't know what you heard, but I heard Tim Apple. Okay, now, later on, the official White House transcript also noted that the president said Tim Apple. Even Tim Cook changed his name on Twitter to poke a little fun by doing Tim and then the Apple sign, right? Okay, that's fun, right? Now the question is, why lie about it? What's the point? What are you getting out of this? I don't understand. Maybe look, as you're going to see, this is now his new excuse that he thought, oh no, it's clever to say it's Tim Apple. Okay, fascinating. Now, before this, before his second change, he said, one of the donors at Mar-a-Lago told Axios that he doesn't understand why Trump would lie in the first place. Quote, I just thought, why would you lie about that? It doesn't even matter. Well, it's true. It doesn't matter. But he can't help himself. Donald Trump's a pathological liar. Even things that he doesn't need to lie about, he lies. He just lies and then switches it up. In fact, he recently said, and this is a tweet, at a recent roundtable meeting of business executives, and long after formally introducing Tim Cook of Apple, I quickly referred to him as Tim Apple, or Tim plus Apple, as Tim Apple, as an easy way to save time and words. The fake news was disparagingly all over this, and it became yet another bad Trump story. Because why use more words when you can use less words? But then there was the lie about, no, I didn't say that. I said Tim Cook Apple. Okay, I actually said Tim Apple, but I meant to say Tim Apple. These lies are literally like 2 days apart. Why? It's not like there's not video. But then he's like, oh yeah, that's right. People have me on video, so now I'm going to change it. And the worst thing, of course, is his followers will be like, yeah, that's right. He did say that. I don't get it. and of course, the reason that this matters is that even though he lies about everything, literally everything, things that he doesn't need to even lie about, his supporters will support him. So he can just lie all the time, and that's what he's doing. He even lies about, oh, the wall's being built right now. No, it's not. Not one piece has been built when it comes to the wall. because they can't get funding. No, the wall's being built right now. He even called out Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter wants the wall. And Ann Coulter has been criticizing him for, hey, you're not actually building the wall. Weird. But wait, I don't, look, man, I don't get these conservatives. They, at the end of the day, don't care about truth, right? All they know, and this is talking to us about his supporters, maybe they don't care that he lies to them all the time. All they know, I think, is that, hey, man, Donald Trump, look, I don't care if he's not actually doing the things that he says he's going to do. He still hates the people that I hate, and maybe that's enough. I guess maybe they feel represented. I don't know. But I tell you what, he lies, again, pathologically, without reason, about things that he doesn't ever need to do to lie about. And that guy, and that is just, I mean, it's beyond words. This presidency is an absolute joke. Sometimes I think, man, we're like in the Matrix or some sort of alien simulation, and they're like, hey, let's put an idiot in charge of the free world, and we'll see how everyone reacts. Either we bring trolled very, very deliberately and very carefully, or we get what we deserve. And I hate to think that it's the second option. Okay. Moving on. Because we have so much joy in this world. Okay. So President Trump and the Republicans have revealed their budget proposal for the next fiscal year. And surprise, surprise, it is a wish list of Republican priorities, including massive cuts to so-called entitlement programs and giant amounts of gifts to the military. Now, in all, the president's budget calls for a total of $2.7 trillion in cuts, and it's a $4 trillion budget. And now these cuts will be in safety net programs, environmental protection, food and housing assistance, and foreign aid over the next 10 years. This is according to a summary reviewed by the Washington Post. Now, the Medicaid cuts alone would be to the tune of $1.5 trillion and would be achieved by approving harsh work requirements at the state level. A lot of states, of course, that are under Republican control are more than happy to institute these work requirements. Now, this is in line with his previous budget that also targeted Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. And for example, in addition to the $1.5 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, there would be $845 billion cut from Medicare and $25 billion cut from Social Security. So what happened? I thought this president was never going to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Oops, looks like that's another lie. Anybody who believes him at this point is just, look, I don't know, man. Maybe they like being lied to. Maybe that's like a thing. Like, oh, lie to me more, Trump, please. I don't know. It's kind of creepy. But according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, they said each of the past two Trump budgets has targeted benefits and services for individuals and families of modest means for deep cuts. And it has supported tax cuts, conferring large new benefits on those at the top of the income scale. That is the Trump Republican budget in a nutshell. Give more benefits to the rich while cutting it from the poor and the middle class. Now, they said also, if enacted, these cuts would have increased poverty and hardship, leaving more people struggling to afford basics like food and rent. And it's the same with this new budget. So, now, look, just the horribleness of this bill cannot be understated, especially given that the Trump administration has literally handed out $1.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, a giant chunk of which went to the richest Americans and multinational corporations. Now, what they did with that money is they basically took it and they put it back in their pockets through record stock buybacks. They didn't increase pay. They didn't increase benefits. No, they didn't help workers whatsoever. I mean, what? Oh, a couple of companies handed out very, very small bonuses, and maybe a couple saw very modest, meager pay raises. But overall, it was a very, very small amount from what they received in tax breaks. Amazon made $1 billion in profit. Their tax rate, 0. You and I, regular people, have paid more in taxes than Amazon this year. That is ridiculous. And look, some of these companies, like, for example, AT&T, Harley-Davidson, and many others, ended up cutting jobs after they got this massive tax giveaway and spent all that money on record stock buybacks. That tax bill also blew a gigantic hole in the budget. Then, of course, that's the Republican plan all along. I mean, here's what they do every time, and we've seen it. Every time they get into power, Republicans, they go in, they cut taxes for the rich and corporations. That creates giant deficits. And then they say, oh, look, we've got giant deficits. Now we need to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Now we need to cut food stamps. We need to cut housing assistance. We need to cut spending on environmental issues. And we can't spend any more money. And the Democrats, every time, they fall for it. Oh, you're right. We cannot spend any more money. When in reality, we absolutely can because we have our own sovereign currency. We literally can't go broke because we print our own money. And so, but again, that's what we do. And look, Mitch McConnell right now, he's out there saying, well, we have a deficit, and that's not because of the giant tax cuts for the rich, but we actually have it for, or have it because of these entitlement programs, and we're going to have to reform them. Of course. So they're going to raid entitlements, your Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, in order to pay for their tax cuts, which in reality, they don't. So this is how the Republicans see things, right? Tax cuts for the rich are super fine. We have more than enough money to throw at the rich and corporations. But how dare you help somebody in need of food? I mean, come on. How dare you? And now it's worse. This budget also includes even more money for military spending. And it also reignites the fight for the wall. Now they're asking for $8.6 billion for an additional wall funding. So here we go again. Now, as far as the military goes, it's another $80 billion plus for the military, a total of $750 billion for the next fiscal year. That exceeds the hike expected by Defense Department officials who are planning on a $733 billion budget. Now that's ridiculous. And here we are. We're shoveling more money to the military. Why? Why? We spend more in the military than almost anything else, especially other countries. We spend way more on the military than every other country combined. Oh, but it's defense. No. And let me show you why this entire thing is ridiculous. Now, according to a recent report by Open the Books, which has been actually reported by some conservative sites, which is interesting, such as Reason, right? Now, they reported that the Pentagon blew millions of dollars on things like lobster, crab, and a $9,000 chair in the closing months of 2018. And, of course, the reason they do that is, well, if I don't spend all this money, then when I ask for more appropriations, well, they're not going to give me the same amount of money. They're actually going to give me less. So let's quickly blow through the budget, spend every dime that we have so we get the same, if not more, amount of appropriations. Now, some of the expenditures included $163,000 spent on paintbrushes, a $7.6 million work expenditure on workout equipment, for example, ski equipment for both adults and juniors, $1.6 million on golf carts, and $4.6 million on lobster and crab. and this is just the last couple of months, at the end of 2018. Not only that, but one federal agency spent $11,800 on a foosball table. Are you serious? And it's not just that, of course. Then you also have to look at the billions of dollars given to defense contractors so that they can make a profit. That money's not going to the troops. It's not going to the E1s that make $19,000 a year. It's not going to their health care. It's not going to their safety. No. It's going to defense contractors and lobster and crab. Come on, man. Seriously. And Trump wants to shovel more money to the defense budget, despite that massive waste and all at the expense, literally, of poor people on Medicaid. It's sick. Now, the details of how he's going to get even more money without Congress necessarily appropriating it. He said to raise money, they want to raise money by proposing putting $165 billion into a war account called the Overseas Contingency Operations Account. Now, that is not constrained by spending limits. Well, you know what a certain Trump official had thought about the OCO? This is Mick Mulvaney. He slammed the OCO as a, quote, slush fund. And now, where's Mulvaney on that now? Oh, right. He's not there at all. Ironically, that's exactly what it's going to be. This is going to be a gigantic Trump slush fund for the military, who doesn't need it at all. And so here we are. Trump's budget, again, showing how they're completely, their priorities are completely inhumane, giving more and more money to the rich, to the corporations, and cutting it from regular people, and also giving it to defense contractors. So that's your Trump budget. Will it get through the House? Probably not. I would hope not, because that's under Democratic control. But you never know. There will probably be some Democrats who will no doubt vote in favor. Because look, and I'm not sure for 100%, and maybe I'm being too hard on the Democrats. But I'm sure that there's somebody who's going to look at that and go, your defense, yes, give all the money to defense contractors. We love it. Let's do it. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. Moving on. Let's get to Ilhan Omar. So the attacks against Representative Ilhan Omar continue. That's following her statements, rightly pointing out the lobbying activities of a lobby group called AIPAC, and how, just like other lobbyists, they use their lobbying power to influence politics in America. Now, she's been attacked by, of course, Democratic operatives and centrists in the Democratic Party, and while those attacks are ridiculous, the real hatred, of course, comes from far-right Republicans. Now, host Jeanine Pirro, who has a show on Fox News, was the latest to attack Omar by not talking about her comments or what she said, but attacking her for wearing a hijab. According to Pirro, because she wears a religious headscarf, it means that she supports Sharia law. Now, I'm not sure if she knows what that is, because Ilhan Omar is a progressive. She believes in feminism, empowering women, LGBTQ equality, denouncing racism, and so, again, her beliefs are very progressive. Nonetheless, they're attacking her for that. And you know, it's funny, being a progressive is actually very antithetical to the Sharia law that conservatives are so afraid of. You know what that Sharia law actually sounds a lot like? It sounds a lot like the far right's interpretation of Christianity. Just saying. Now, regardless of that, Pirro claimed that Omar was against the Constitution because she is rightly exercising her First Amendment right to wear religious clothing. Again, I'm not sure if she quite understands what she's talking about. I mean, it's a curious argument. Like, you really want to go with that? Look, I don't like the forced use of religious clothing. It doesn't matter, right? Let me give you an example. For, like, the stuff that women are forced to wear in Saudi Arabia, right? I don't like that, right? I don't like people being forced to wear certain things for their religion by the government. Now, if a woman chooses to wear that, or chooses to be part of a religion of her own free will, well, then okay. I'm okay with that. That's her right. That's kind of what equality means. That's what the First Amendment means, right? Now, Republicans don't seem to believe that. It's kind of strange. Now, that said, I want to go to social media and show you some of the responses to Jeanine Pirro and some of her hate-mongering. And we'll start out with Brett Stevens. Now, he says, Jeanine Pirro is a disgrace. Ilhan Omar's right to wear a hijab in accordance with her religious convictions is as constitutional as an Orthodox Jewish woman's right to wear a sheitel. Anything less is un-American. Kasim Rashid says, Fox host Jeanine Pirro says Representative Ilhan Omar's hijab means she's against the U.S. Constitution. One, will anyone on the right condemn this blatant xenophobia? No. The answer is no. And per Pirro logic, are Catholic nuns against the Constitution because of their habits? And of course, Catholic nuns, well, you've all seen a nun. You know that they also wear religious headwear. But wait. Every right-winger, right now in unison is saying, they don't count because they're Christian. Nick Jack Pappas says, the most telling thing about Jeanine Pirro saying that Ilhan Omar wearing a hijab means she's against the Constitution is that the extremist who believes in state-sponsored religion in this scenario is Jeanine Pirro. And that's, of course, going back to how there are Christians in America, these far-right Christians, that believe that Christianity is the state religion, when in reality, we are a secular country, which means we welcome all religions and don't let one dominate over every other. Saying the opposite, that this is a Christian nation, is the literal definition of being anti-American. You don't understand the Constitution at all. At all. Stance Grounded asks, Jeanine Pirro says Representative Ilhan Omar's hijab means she's against the Constitution. So what about Catholic nuns, Orthodox Jews, Orthodox Christian nuns? Her rhetoric is extremely discriminatory and Islamophobic, absolutely outrageous. Absolutely. Elstun says, Jeanine Pirro, Judge Jeanine should be charged before the bar in disbarment for conduct not in keeping with standards of the American bar. She's using her authority as a practitioner of law, misrepresent the meaning and spirit of the law. So, oh man, just the fact that she is involved with the law, kind of scary. You know what else is scary? You guys remember Louis Gohmert. Well, ever since Trump came on the scene, Trump has continuously outdumbed Louis Gohmert. And that is really hard to do, especially for someone who said gay people shouldn't go to space because they're gay. Because the human race will die out if we let gay people go into space and travel on the spaceships. It's the same guy who said that Obama was trying to reconstitute the Ottoman Empire. It takes a lot of work to out-stupid that guy. But the point that I was going to make about him is that he was also a judge. Judge Louis Gohmert. Ugh. Oh, imagine being in that courtroom. Ugh. Both of them, again, they seem to be too stupid to be involved in law. But anyway, and obviously they don't understand what the law actually is. But there's more. John Stanley says, Judge Jeanine is a special kind of stupid. prove that an education doesn't necessarily bring with it intelligence or even common sense and decency. And that is an actually really good point. There's more. Asma says, as a hijab-wearing Muslim woman in America, I view Jeanine's dog whistle as about Sharia law and a hijab extremely dangerous. Will Pirro take responsibility for inciting hate if Muslim women get attacked as a result? That is a hard no. Of course that's not going to happen. When has any Republican ever taken responsibility? These are the same people, though, who scream at the Muslims when there's a terrorist attack. When are all Muslims going to denounce this? When are all black people going to denounce this? When are all liberals going to denounce this? It's hypocrisy. Now, that said, I want to give you an opinion from an actual conservative. Now, this is Paul Martin. He says, I'm a Christian and a Republican and a former minister. But the brand of Christianity Jeanine Pirro promotes isn't the Jesus version. It is a far right-wing versus catering only to the most ignorant. Religious freedom means religious freedom. And that's it. That's all we're asking from the right. To say stuff that is factually true. And that is true. And thank you for actually saying something that is smart and that makes sense and that is true. So I appreciate that. Nick Confessor says, I guess it's fitting that Pirro would pick a slur that broadly parallels the dual loyalty criticism Omar got in trouble for. Interesting. Jonathan Allen reflects that by saying, Pirro denounces Omar for accusing Jewish lawmakers of having dual loyalty, and then turns around and says Omar is more loyal to Sharia than the Constitution because she wears a hijab. One thing many Jews and Muslims who are deeply loyal to the U.S. have in common: head coverings. Brian Becker says, fun fact of which Judge Jeanine may or may not already be aware, Sharia commands Muslims to adhere to the law of the land in which they reside. Of course, I doubt that she would know that, because that would take some intellectual curiosity to try to seek out that knowledge. And two, of course, and more importantly, how then would she be able to scare old white people and whip them up into an angry froth so that they don't think for themselves when the Republicans pick their pockets? I mean, look, this is what Fox News is. It's propaganda and rage bait. And no one is more rage baity than Jeanine Pirro. I mean, look, and there is a reason for this. Studies shown that the easiest emotion to manipulate is rage, and of course fear. And to get all Yoda here, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate. In this case, it definitely applies, and in every case, I think it applies, because that's exactly what they run on: fear, anger, hate, loathing, and unfortunately, that's Fox News' business model. Okay. Let's take a break here. We'll come back. We'll read some super chats when we get back from the break. So make sure to get ready for that. Yes, coming up next, of course, is Tucker Carlson. We'll have some fun with that, and then the Safe Space Act for Trump supporters. You're gonna love that. So we'll be back with that story right after the break. Around the Nation. Hey everybody, we're back. Around the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. I don't have the music for that right now because... So, I did some computer cleaning this weekend to make sure everything runs rightly so. And I may have cleaned too much. And I also renamed one of my drives. So, I got to, set everything back up. I set most of the stuff up. That actually works, but, I don't have everything. So it'll be a couple of days before I get everything set up to where it was. But anyway, welcome back to the show. Here where we give you too much information on what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, so we have a super chat here from Platypie. Says, she's very happy about the podcast, so that's great. So I'm glad people are excited about the podcast. That's great. It'll be a podcast version of the live show every day. So hopefully we'll get approved and we'll get that set up so you guys can start listening to it on iTunes. So that's fun. Banned hydrogen monoxide. I have to look up what that is because that sounds familiar and probably not dangerous at all. So. Isn't that salt? No, that's not salt. What am I thinking? My brain is not working right now. So it's one of those days. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get into the rest of the show. Water. Derp. Thank you. I told you guys it's not working today. I should have known that too. If I just thought about it for a second, I would have gotten it. Congratulations. I feel dumb now. All right, let's move on. Time to feel a little smarter because we're coming up with Tucker Carlson. Oh, that's sad. All right. So Tucker Carlson is under fire after Media Matters unearthed some audio from interviews he participated in with radio host Bubba the Love Sponge from back in 2006. Now, for one, strike one already. Really? Bubba the Love Sponge? Come on, man. Anyway, now in the audio, Carlson made a few comments that did not go over well and didn't age very well. Now, he was referring to a conversation on underage marriage. And during this conversation, he seemed to defend statutory rape. He said the same thing exactly as pulling a child from a bus stop and sexually assaulting that child. The rapist in this case has made a lifelong commitment to live and take care of the person, so it's a little different. So, child marriage, I mean, hey, at least you're going to take care of that person for the rest of your life, so it's okay, kind of. Really? Huh. No, it's actually not better. See, rape is still rape. If you marry a child, which you can't legally, and you have sex with her, you're a child rapist, you're a pedophile. Now, he also made a comment about his own daughter after the show host talked about sexual experimentation at boarding school. He said, if it weren't my daughter, I would love that scenario. Oh, so if it didn't affect me personally, well, then it's okay. Then it'd be kind of hot. But it's my daughter, so it would affect me personally. Oh, I'm against that. Well, I'm against that now. Carlson even called the charges against polygamist and husband of child brides, Warren Jeffs, BS. Because he said, arranging a marriage between a 16-year-old and the 27-year-old is not the same as pulling a stranger off the street and raping her. Yeah, but how is that first scenario at all okay? It's not. It's not. But you know what's weird here? So here's a guy that rails against Muslims and Sharia law, right? Oh, the Muslims are coming. Their Muslims are coming. And they're going to do Sharia law where they have child marriages. Oops. But child marriages are apparently fine, or at least not as bad, while you're talking to somebody called the Love Sponge. Okay, keep going with that. He also said, of course, some very misogynistic things about women. No surprise there. He called women primitive. He said, I mean, I love women, but they're extremely primitive. They're basic. They're not that hard to understand. And one of the things they hate more than anything is weakness in a man. What does that even mean? What primitive? I'm sorry, what? As opposed to what? As opposed to who? I don't know why anyone would make that argument. Oh man, she's so basic. She's so primitive. Okay. Now, again, these are some of the comments that he made while he was sitting in on a shock jock radio show. So, of course, later on, he releases a statement in response that was non-apologetic. He said, Media Matters caught me saying something naughty on a radio show more than a decade ago. Rather than express the usual ritual contrition, how about this? I'm on television every weeknight live for an hour. If you want to know what I think, you can watch. Anyone who disagrees with my views is welcome to come on and explain why. Anyone except for that Dutch guy. You remember that guy? He was on an episode that didn't air because he immediately came out and challenged Tucker Carlson. Weird. But I love how he said, oh man, look, that's a decade ago. Who cares? Why don't you come on my show? Well, first you need to watch my show. Then you need to come on my show, and we'll have a debate. I am pretty sure he is not going to take anyone who right now on Twitter is offering to come on his show for a debate. I'm just saying. Now, what's funny is that the people that right now are defending Tucker Carlson on Twitter, you got people like Mike Cernovich, right? Paul Joseph Watson. These are the same guys that, part of the alt-right that would dig up something from the past, right? Now, right now, like on leftists, right? Now, right now, they're defending Tucker Carlson. How dare you dig up something from their past? When these are the same people that dug up things about Cenk Uygur, right? Now, look, Cenk Uygur made some terrible comments back when he was a conservative. And then they used it against him. That's ironic, right? And they also tried to do that to Sam Cedar. Sam Cedar once made a joke. So this is the right wing's playbook. And they've used it plenty of times against people that are critical of them. And they'll dig up some of the stuff that you said in the past, and then they'll attack them over it. And so it's a bit hypocritical for these conservatives now to defend Tucker Carlson over this whole thing. That said, the responses to this a statement, I guess, are fantastic. DB says, do you have to be a terrible person to work at Fox, or is it strongly encouraged? That's a good question. Jamil Smith said, Carlson's remark included defense of a child rapist. It wasn't just something naughty. He refuses to apologize, inviting detractors onto his show instead. But his puerile misogyny is not worth debating, especially for the titillation of his audience. And now one thing that Tucker Carlson loves to do on his show is to play the victim. The victim of, liberal elitism, and how dare you attack us, and we're the real victims here because conservatives are getting attacked from all angles. And, and they're always coming after us, the leftists, and they're dangerous. Again, the irony here. When, of course, conservatives, basically their love of freedom of speech, basically is them saying, I just want to say racist, misogynistic things in public without getting called out. That's my freedom of speech. Well, that kind of speech comes with consequences, not from the government, which is the whole point of actual freedom of speech, is that the government doesn't come after you. But doesn't mean the fellow citizens can't come and set you straight. Just saying. That said, more responses. John Fugelsang says, I hope some of these newly uncovered tapes don't hurt Tucker with all his viewers who really respect women. Judd Legum says Tucker Carlson is not sorry he defended Warren Jeffs, even though Jeffs is currently serving a life sentence for raping a 12-year-old girl. You want to defend that? Is that the hill you want to die on? Apparently, that's Tucker's hill. And again, here's the thing, right? So, on the topic of digging up things that people have said from the past, right? I think what matters most in this is, have you changed? Now, look, if Tucker Carlson said horrible things in the past, which he did, and then he comes out today and says, yeah, those were horrible. I hate that I said that. I completely denounce it. And everything I said, you guys who are criticizing me, you're absolutely right. I'll join in. I'll criticize myself for saying that. Okay. Then you know what? If you ask for, if you ask for forgiveness and you come out and say, after all that, okay, that's fair, right? Yes, people will likely forgive you. Again, with Jank, he's a great example of that. He's like, I said some really boneheaded, misogynistic, terrible things in my youth. When I was a conservative, when I was not that kind of person. But guess what? I'm different now. I have said something different. I have come out and I have said that this, what I had said in the past is unacceptable. And I take it, responsibility for saying that stuff. But also, I am a different person. I have taken the opportunity to change and to become a better person and to treat women with respect. And Tucker Carlson has not done that. So, if you're somebody who has said different things in the past, terrible things in the past, and you change and you become a better person, then I think you should get forgiveness and you should get a second chance. Tucker Carlson, at this point, does not deserve a second chance because right now he stands by those things and then basically uses this entire outrage model to get more people to watch his ridiculous show. And so that's not just double downing. That's also trying to make an extra buck. So that said, a couple more. One more. This is Graph Drew, who says, quote, "We all heard what you said. We don't need to watch your show." Boom. And I think that's the comment that wins today. Okay. Tucker Carlson is a terrible guy, man. I know there's people out there that defend him. Oh, he's talking about working class stuff. Yeah, but he's doing it from a perspective of it's all the government and it's all the liberals' fault. Liberal hypocrisy. Okay, anyway. Enough about him. Let's move on. Pro-Trump conservatives will now have the opportunity to have a safe space. Now, this is a new app that was launched earlier this month, and what it does is that it will help conservatives find so-called safe restaurants and other businesses that they will not be where they won't be harassed for supporting Donald Trump. Now, the app is called 63 Red Safe App, and app creator Scott Wallace recently went on Fox and Friends to explain what his app does. Let's take a look.
We wanted to make sure that people could let others know what restaurants may have a political bent. Now, we're not looking to try and find restaurants that are conservative or pro-Trump. Our aim is to get politics out of local businesses, local restaurants, and make everyone feel comfortable when they go out.
Okay, and so I've seen this described as Yelp for conservatives. But Scott, on the locations that are deemed unsafe, and that one right there is safe, what went into saying they're not safe?
Sure. Well, users can review the local businesses and restaurants. It's just 4 quick questions, yes or no questions. Number 1, does this location serve all customers regardless of political beliefs? Will they protect their customers if they're under attack by others in the restaurant? There's a concealed carry question, and does the location have a political presence in their social media? Again, we're trying to get politics out of these businesses. We want businesses to understand that there's no money in politics, and we're working to call them out on it. People just want to go out and eat. They just want to go out and shop. Let's not mix the two. There's sort of a general unease among conservatives, and we want to make sure everyone's safe out there.
Safe is in safe space. That's what this is. Now, look, he said, oh, no, I just want to get the politics out of local businesses. Maybe you should not bring your politics into the local business. So, look, there's a lot of disagreement on what the red MAGA hat actually means, right? Or what it actually stands for, or what it does. Like, should you wear it in public? Look, just like any political shirt or societal shirt or whatever, or hat, it has a meaning. And of course, the MAGA hat is basically an invitation. It's an invitation to either get together and do rowdy, terrible things, or to have a statement. And the statement it makes is generally not a good thing, in my opinion, right? That's like me wearing an F Jesus shirt. That's going to turn a few heads. It's going to start a couple of arguments. That's why you don't wear something like that. But anyway, now, again, let's get the politics out of local businesses, right? Another part of that meaning is, hey, maybe you won't get kicked out for being a jerk to minorities. I mean, let's keep it real. That's what the majority of people who end up wearing MAGA hats end up usually doing. I'm just saying, when they get caught, on camera berating a black person or a minority, it's usually somebody with a MAGA hat on. And yes, there are some times where there is fake people trying to set up Trump supporters. The majority of the time is it's generally just a Trump supporter being super racist. Now, he also said, again, we want businesses to understand that there's no money in politics. But there is money in politics. There's a lot of money in politics, especially if you're on the conservative side. Look at Chick-fil-A, right? Or look at the other side. To be fair, there's Nike and Colin Kaepernick. So now, the reason that this is important, that Kaepernick is a great example, is there's no money in being hateful. There is money in inclusion, right? So I wish there was no money in the politics whatsoever, right? But to be honest, look, being inclusive and catering to all people is just good business sense. And so why wouldn't you want to appeal to the most people? And so with Kaepernick, for example, the majority of America agrees with him. And there's only people that are outraged, and those people are usually on the right. So, but again, on the right side, you have Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is, I think, openly conservative. Now, has it stopped a lot of liberals from eating here? I don't think so. But generally, sometimes they did get in trouble for their political stances on things, or the political stance of people like the CEO. You also had Papa John's. Papa John Schnatter, who was the former CEO board member of Papa John's Pizza, was also very openly conservative and pro-Trump, and that got his business into a little bit of trouble. Then you also have the gun stores. Remember doing the story on a gun store that wouldn't sell guns to Muslims? It's a curious position, right? I'm not going to sell guns to Muslims. They're not welcome here. Well, that's a political statement. So you want to get all the politics, out of restaurants. That's literally impossible to do at this point, getting the politics out of business. But we can get the money out of politics. That'd be a great thing. But that's not what he actually means, right? He means something completely different. No, the reasoning for this is that he's afraid that Trump supporters are going to be targeted by Antifa. And he actually says this later on. He said, I think Antifa was nothing compared between now and what's coming in 2020, and I am deeply concerned. So here we go with the fear. Oh, the anti-fascists are coming. If you're afraid of anti-fascists, then what does that make you? Just a quick question on that, right? I mean, again, from their perspective, discriminating against Muslims and black people, not a problem. That's fine. But how dare people discriminate against me because I'm a conservative white person? I need a safe space. And that's what they're saying. I mean, look, I recently did a story where a black person was asked to leave during his own birthday party. He wasn't being disruptive. Him and, I think it was 12 friends and family members reserved a table, and they had an agreement in advance for the whole table to pay gratuities, and they were still kicked out. The cops were called on them and everything, and they were told to leave. Where's their safe space? Do minorities ever get a safe space anywhere? No, not in the general public. Do women ever get a safe space? Not necessarily. But here you have white MAGA guys that are like, I need a safe space because these restaurants are being overly political. And sometimes they're getting yelled at by constituents. One restaurant labeled as unsafe on the app, according to the Daily Beast, was a Redhead in Lexington. Now, that's where Sarah Huckabee Sanders was politely asked to leave because of her political positions. Now, whether you agree with that or not, right? It wasn't her being violently kicked out. It's just the owner had a political opinion that didn't agree with hers. Okay. But you also had other instances last year. For example, Mitch McConnell got yelled at. Now, I don't agree that they should have grabbed his food and threw it away. But you can yell at him. Christian Nielsen, Kellyanne Conway. Those are people that are in elected office. I don't believe that anybody should be assaulted, right? But high-profile politicians, if you see them out and you're their constituent, damn right you can yell at them. And you should. That's free speech. You like free speech? Are you a free speech warrior? Then why aren't you defending people's right to talk to their representatives? Oh, right, because it doesn't involve giving them tons of money. That's the kind of speech that these politicians unfortunately love. And the irony, of course, is these are the same people who constantly yell at progressives when these guys are being racist. They say things like libtard. You need a safe space. Are you triggered, libtard? But at the same time, in reality, it seems like they're the most easily triggered people and are now literally going to safe spaces. Hilarious. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for going around the nation with me today. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for liking and sharing the stream. We'll be back tomorrow for another fantastic show, so stick around. Come back tomorrow, not stick around, because there's nothing going to be here. TYT is coming up next, of course. Thank you, guys. Love you, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you tomorrow. I believe my stuff is froze up.